All right, so I'm going to go through this TikTok, guys. I'm not going to answer anything yet, but I'll answer some questions after. So a lot of you guys have been sending me this girl's TikTok. I've been constantly getting tagged in it, and it's sent to me. So I kind of wanted to go through it piece by piece because it's so incredibly loaded and frankly a bit ignorant. So that's what we're going to do right now. So yeah, here we go.
If I say all lives matter, I'm a racist.
All right, so right off the bat, the biggest issue with this whole idea of all lives matter being considered racist, the problem is that people who champion all lives matter don't champion it in a way that's inclusive to white people. They champion it in a way that diminishes Black Lives Matter. If there was a legitimate all lives matter movement that was saying like, hey, listen, all lives matter, including Black lives, we're going to fight with you, that is a fine perspective to have. Unfortunately, most people see Black Lives Matter. They feel threatened by the idea of not Black people becoming equal to them, but they feel threatened by the idea that they think Black people want superiority. And so they kind of use all lives matter as a way of saying like, oh no, that's not a real thing. So first point, that's right there.
I stand for my flag, I have to apologize for it.
That doesn't even make any sense. I don't think that there's a single person that's like, hey, if you stand for your flag, you're a piece of shit. Honestly, I haven't seen anything even close to that. This really stems from the idea of kneeling for the flag, which is like honestly a peaceful protest. I mean, you can say what you want about Colin Kaepernick, but it's irrelevant. Kneeling for the flag is a way to respectfully protest. Unfortunately, people who are very patriotic, and I am one of them, get incredibly offended when you do things like this. In my opinion, like, does it upset me a little bit? Sure. But like the focus needs to be shifted away from this idea that they're disrespecting the country and more focused towards the idea that people are trying to fight for the equality and the opportunity that people like myself have had in this country.
I'm not allowed to go to church, but I can burn churches to the ground.
I don't even know what the fuck she's talking about. Honestly, I don't really know what she's talking about. I'm assuming she's talking about COVID-19 and you're not allowed to go to church. But that's just from a practical perspective. Like, why would you want to pack yourself with, depending on the size of the church, like 90 other people just to spread COVID? And I don't know who's burning churches. And again, I'm assuming that she's referencing the looting and the rioting, I guess. And talking about that, and like I understand the emotion attachment. Is looting and rioting productive? No, I don't believe so. But also, we need to look at ourselves or look at the situation from a perspective that people who are looting and rioting, some of them are obviously taking advantage of the tragedy of George Floyd's death, but some of them are so frustrated they don't know what else to do, right? And I think that's what it really stems from more. But either way, what a ridiculous rhetoric point.
I'm not allowed to open my own business, but I can go loot and destroy other people's businesses.
All right, again, so we're reinforcing the whole looting and rioting. I already talked on it. It's just silly. I don't know who can't open their own business. I don't even know what she's referencing. You're talking about being a conservative and not being allowed to open up your own business. I don't understand what is that. I don't even know what that point is from. Somebody please ask her, because I don't fucking get it. Let's move on.
If I wear a badge, have a gun, and I'm dressed in blue, I'm a racist pig. But if I walk around destroying my city with...
So let's start with the first part. Like, there's some validity to what she's saying here. Like, I'm going to give her credit for that. Like, police officers are getting a lot of shit lately. But the thing is that there is an issue with the amount of authority that police officers have and feel that they have. I respect the police. I love police officers. I understand that their presence is absolutely necessary, and I think that the way that they're armed is necessary. I think that just police presence reduces crime. But we can't deny that police brutality is a real issue, and it's not a black issue. It's an everybody issue. Police officers, we're conditioned to believe that police officers are our bosses, but they're supposed to be our protectors. And honestly, I don't feel like that part is being recognized.
Bricks and masks, I'm considered a peaceful protester.
Again, right here with the peaceful protester thing, nobody is arguing that the riots are peacefully protesting. If anything, people on the left are saying like this is a necessary thing. They are absolutely diminishing the negative impact of the protesting and the riots. But like, let's not pretend there isn't a component of police officers instigating it in some situations. So, I mean, again, she's boiling these things down so intensely, but it's just not true. I don't know. This is so much rhetoric in this.
I'm not allowed to peacefully protest the lockdown at my capital, but...
All right, so What? What are you talking about? I don't understand. From a media perspective, sure. Like people are saying, like, oh, it's just because white people are going to the Capitol, but they are. You're literally allowed to peacefully protest. It's been working. Well, maybe not working, but nobody's been attacked or assaulted. And you can make it a race issue. Me personally, I think it's an armed citizen issue. Armed citizens are they're scary, so the cops aren't taking advantage of them. If anything, this is an advocacy for some kind of a spreading of gun usage. But this idea that you can't protest, I mean, you could make the argument like, hey, I'm considered a racist if I'm protesting, and all that people are doing is waving white privilege in front of my face. But also, protesting a lockdown and a virus that's killed a lot of people in the United States, it's a little silly. But you're still afforded the opportunity to do so. So, I don't understand the issue with that.
I can go destroy and graffiti my Capitol. I'm not allowed to go to the park to play.
So, like, nobody's allowed to destroy and graffiti the Capitol. Like, literally, police are trying to stop that. Again, it's more like anti-rioting rhetoric. Like, I get it. I don't think that there's, like, a single logical person that's sitting here saying, like, they should be able to loot and riot. Mostly the argument, or at least the argument the way I would interpret it, is, like, these people feel very cornered, and they're doing the best that they can. They're doing the best that they can to try to express themselves, because they feel like they're unheard. And like, again, it's not right to loot and riot, but like the alternative unfortunately hasn't really been working.
Play t-ball with my family, but I can destroy the park. I'm not allowed.
What the fuck is that? Again, it's just more like what? I don't know what she's referencing with the t-ball. Who the fuck plays t-ball? You're a nerd. Again, more anti-rioting rhetoric.
To protect our historical monuments and history, but I can go tear them down and have them land on top of people.
That one is a decent point. Here's the thing: I'm not very connected to. I'm not very connected to these different things. I'm not connected to these statues. I don't live in the South. I don't understand the historical significance from the Southern perspective. People have to understand that when you live in the South, you are educated a little bit differently on the Civil War and what it was about. For us, we, up in the northern areas, we learned more about how really it centralized around racism. And I think that maybe it did, but that doesn't mean that people in the South aren't learning something a bit different. So to them, they're war heroes. Me personally, I think your best bet for these statues is honestly to either put them in a museum or to put some kind of a plaque up next to them just to contextualize them. So like, I kind of agree on this point, but again, it's just so, there's no solution offered. I mean, clearly some of these monuments are considered racist pylons for some people, or representatives of racism. And instead of saying, okay, you know what, I understand your perspective, let's figure out a way to contextualize this, it's just crying on TikTok,
I'm not allowed to have an opinion on racial matters because I'm white, but if I don't have an opinion on it, I'm the reason why people are oppressed.
This one, it's such a complicated statement, right? Because she has kind of a point in the respect, if I interpret it in a particular way, I can give her credit for this point. Because when I was growing up, I was always told that, like, listen, like, you shouldn't look at the color of somebody's skin. You should you should be projecting yourself onto that person, and you should be empathetic towards that person on a person-to-person basis, rather than saying, like, oh, that's a black guy. That narrative has shifted towards if you don't acknowledge somebody's skin color or identity factor, you're considered a racist because you're not acknowledging it. And like, there's a level of truth there. What she's saying, I understand what she's saying. And I kind of agree, at least with that interpretation of it. And I might be giving her a little bit of credit. But, sometimes you got to throw people alone, so.
I can go riot in the streets with the BLM, but if I go to a Trump rally, COVID-19 magically appears.
I don't even know what the fuck she's talking about. Again, like, is it like a media rhetoric perspective? Because, like, COVID's an issue in both. The difference is, again, it's not necessary to riot or to go to a Trump rally. But if you're just going to look at it in a very unbiased perspective, the riots make more sense. Like, again, I'm not for looting. I'm not for rioting. Most of it's actually peaceful protesting. The media is doing a horrible job of representing that. But most of it is peaceful protesting. But people, that makes sense. You're fighting for, the end of systemic racism. Even if I think that it's not necessarily a race issue, it's still an issue of police brutality. And to equate that to going to a rally is kind of silly. Like, why should you really go to a rally? I mean, I get it, but like right now, it's very dangerous to be huddled up. And plus, it seems a little silly. I mean, I understand her perspective, but again, like, you're not contextualizing that we have a virus going on and we have systemic racism going on.
Does anyone else not see the hypocrisy in all of this?
I don't. I really don't. I mean, like, honestly, I don't. I hate liberal bullshit too, and like I'm the one coming in here and saying that like you're wrong. You're misrepresenting facts. I think that you're doing a disservice to conservatives, and like I think honestly, it's time that conservatism has a rebranding to what it really needs to be rather than what it is right now. So
I'm done with your bullshit.
So, wrapping that up, that was a lot of rhetoric. I'll give her a little bit of credit. I don't want to say I'll give her credit. I understand where she's coming from. It's the frustration of it all. But the problem is that she's very bubbled in her perspective. And so, like, that's my biggest criticism of it. I think that there's a way to deliver a frustration with COVID-19 and the misrepresentation of what Trump is and who he is in the media without doing this. And so, like, that's my wrap up for this video.